The Rise of American Anarchy and Targeted Assassinations, featuring Nicholas J. Fuentes, with a shout out to Balaji Srinivasan. This is News from 5D. I'm Otis 5D.
News from 5D with Otis 5D.
So we're going to watch a bunch of video, including this scene of a robber guy, an assassin, an attempted assassin, showing up at Nick Fuentes' house and attempting to kill him with a pistol and a crossbow. And maybe we'll even watch it a couple times while I talk over it. I mean, this dude is at Nick Fuentes' house, so Nick Fuentes' address was doxed, and the doxing was viewed 16 million times on Twitter, and that is against Twitter's policy, but Twitter does not apply a lot of the rules they have to Nick Fuentes. They allow the post to stay up, and it wasn't until, so that's a pistol, and this guy is now dead. In case you don't know about this guy that you're looking at right now is now not alive, and the police showed up and chased him into an alley. You can kind of see the alley on the side of the video here, and he ran through that alley and he started shooting at the police, and the police killed him. And so anyway, Balaji Srinivasan has this thesis that he's been developing for quite some time, a number of years, as usual, way ahead of the curve, about the rise of American anarchy, which you could think of as something like anarcho-tyranny, where anarcho-tyranny is a phrase. I can't remember who created that phrase, but anyway, it references a system where criminals are free and normal people are, tyrannized, and meaning like they'll give you a $300 ticket for parking on the wrong side of the road, but if a fentanyl junkie steals a car and bashes into 50 cars, destroying all the cars, causing $100,000 in damage, they won't put that person in jail. And so the silence around, I knew this was all coming. Like, it was so obvious to me that what Nick Fuentes is saying is so inflammatory toward the status quo. And it's not just the status quo of like normies and Rachel Maddow. It's also the status quo of Alex Karp and Joe Lonsdale and the Palantir Gang and Bill Ackman and Eric Weinstein and all of these Zionist Jews who are ostensibly like putting on an America First skin suit, but want to completely excise any conversation about the Israel lobby and about like Zog, the Zionist occupied government of America, where American foreign policy is hijacked on behalf of Israel. And just recently, this could sound insane, but Jeffrey Sachs, who up until COVID was like one of the main Harvard trained, I don't know if he's a neocon actually, but like regime change, State Department guys, he was just on Tucker Carlson basically talking about how American foreign policy is more or less run by Israel. So the uncomfortable truth is that this position is mainstreaming in large part due to the courage of Nick Fuentes, who just beat this drum very factually, very logically, naming names, dates, and places for the past, 6 years, until other people started picking it up, whether that's Candace Owens or Stu Peters or Jake Shields, Dan Bilzerian, Andrew Tate, Candace Owens. I maybe have started repeating people. And now it's like a avalanche. There's no telling where this goes. And so there's a very uncomfortable tension, because a lot of these people, in my opinion, would be very happy if Nick Fuentes was assassinated, or at least scared into silence. And I think even somebody like Eric Weinstein, even though he would never admit that in a trillion, billion, gazillion years, but what we're seeing with, Luigi Mangione, who I don't even know if he's the real person. He has Patsy written all over him to me, but what do I know? That, what am I trying to say here? That these targeted assassinations aren't just going, if this gets normalized, which seems to be happening, and what I mean by this gets normalized is that the media and the big influencers on social media, like Mike Cernovich and Michael Malice and Eric Weinstein and Mark Andreessen and, Palmer Luckey and so on, if these people do not speak up loudly and boldly about the attempted assassination of Nick Fuentes and his address being doxxed, and the fact that Twitter did not follow its own rules with regards to, immediate account termination for doxing with the case of Nick Fuentes, when they definitely do it for other people. These people are asking for trouble. And, I don't think, Balaji wants none of what I'm saying. If Balaji heard this, he would be like, I disavow everything this guy Otis is saying, because this is some evil, fascist, I don't know what he would say, something not good. But what he does know is that this rise of American anarchy, where stochastic violence rises and all of a sudden people see, oh, you can assassinate Nick Fuentes. Well, why can't you assassinate some of the other people that I've mentioned? I almost said people's names, but I think that's very evil, and I don't want to do that, because I'm part of the reason I'm making this video is bro, pump the brakes. These motherfuckers hate Nick Fuentes so much and they'll be like, I don't know, who's Nick Fuentes? I don't even know who that is. Yeah, you fucking fake-ass ag-fay motherfucker, you lying-ass bitch. Fuck you. You fucking know. You fucking cowards. So anyway, now let's listen to Nick talk about, the situation, and we'll kind of go from here. We got a few videos to watch.
To express myself politically without a lynch mob showing up to my front door to kill me, then we don't have civil rights. Then we don't have free speech. We don't have the right to express ourselves about politics. Because that's all I did. That's all I do. I do a talk show. I've done a talk show.
The one thing I do think, we're going to see this more, but I just want to comment on it now. I think Nick Fuentes is either disingenuous or extremely naive. I don't think that there is any country in the world ever where you can just say whatever you want and expect that people aren't going to show up at your door to kill you. In our society, maybe it's your body, my choice. In another society, maybe it's something about blaspheming God. Look at Charlie Hebdo. There's no society that we can create where you can just say whatever you want and be protected from violence. Violence is the logical conclusion of people being triggered so much to get you to shut the fuck up that they come for you. And, people should know this. A Catholic like Nick should know this from the story of Jesus.
To express ourselves about politics. Because that's all I did. That's all I do. I do a talk show. I've done a talk show for 8 years. People could say about me, and whatever people don't like about me, that's what I do. I exercise my right to speak. This is a talk show. I speak on the show, and the subject matter is politics. And if someone like myself can't talk about politics without being debanked, without being doxxed, and the dox hosted on Twitter and receiving millions of views,
strongly.
And the media lying about me and vilifying me, and ultimately culminating in this final act, which is someone showing up to kill me and them sweeping it under the rug because they prefer that they succeed in doing this. If I can't talk without all of that happening, then nobody has free speech. I'm just the person that took it all the way. I'm just the person that says the most inconvenient things all of the time. I'm the one who says those things in spite of every sanction, every form of ostracism, every penalty, every form of punishment. And I've done it in spite of all of that. And the last stop on that train, the final destination, is what you saw last week, is somebody showing up and trying to kill me, and the media sweeping it under the rug because they want that person to succeed. And you can't live in a free society. That's not a free society if that's the type of political climate that has been cultivated. And there's a word for that. It is repression. That is transnational repression. If I am not allowed
The
to
only
express—
thing is, again, I just want to reiterate that it's hard for me to believe that there's a society where you can just say that stuff. Like if you look even just in a MAGA, right? Like Make America Great Again. Like fucking the Kennedys got assassinated. They tried to assassinate Reagan. They assassinated the fucking George, what's it, McGovern? Is that his name? I can't, this is all before my time. Lincoln, like motherfuckers has been getting assassinated when people do not like what you have to say. Did McKinley, some other, a bunch of presidents got assassinated. And so I agree with him in theory, but I don't live in theory. I think in practice, you have to know, like, you can't just, like, live in a house like he does where people can just walk up on you if you want to speak how he speaks. And I think that's true in every society in the world. And you could say, well, like, Dubai is safe and Singapore is safe and China is safe. But it's like, obviously, there are just different things you can't talk about in those places where, like, a different group of people run up on you. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope I'm wrong, but I think it's naive to think that I'm wrong.
That if someone like or Ashley St.
This is good. This is good.
Someone like Mike Benz or Ashley St. Clair or Ben Shapiro, if one of them were doxxed on Twitter and they're all friends with Elon Musk, X would not allow their private residence to get 16 million views on a single post before it was taken down.
It's
X
fucked
allowed
up, man.
for that
it's
to happen to me.
It's super fucked up.
The reason I bring that up, and I like Ashley.
And I just feel like, dude, I feel like Mark Andreessen's like the smartest of all these people. I could be full of shit, I could be totally wrong, but that's my opinion. Mark Andreessen of all this cadre is the smartest of all of them. He needs to be the one speaking about like what happened to Nick Fuentes is not okay. And if he has too much political capital to lose, then again, American dynamism deserves to like collapse and China deserves to take over. Because if this is what American dynamism is, where it's like we hate Nick Fuentes and like I will lose all my A16Z like limited partners or whatever if I'm like showing that I am supporting a rabid anti-Semite, I don't know, bro. In fact, it makes me want to show this image. I was not planning on showing this. Hopefully, I'm not going to like waste too much of your time trying to find. Yeah, I found it. Good. Let's see if I don't have it like set up with my image, but here we go. This is from Real Ben. You should follow Real Ben at Real Ben. Gaddafi, 1986. I think Americans are good, but America will be taken over and destroyed from the inside by the Zionist lobby. I don't know if Gaddafi actually said this, okay? It was a quote that made sense to me. The Americans do not see this. They are getting decadent. Zionists will use this to destroy them. So Mark Andreessen talks incessantly about the fact that in 2016 he was like, hey, what's going on? I don't understand anything, right? And then he starts reading The Ancient City and Revolt of the Public and all these books and James Burnham and, like kind of figures it out. But I don't know, man. I can't tell if this dude just like is totally blind to what's going on with this viewpoint around Zog and the Israel lobby. Like, I just can't imagine he hasn't, like, he obviously knows about the Martyr Maid thing with Churchill and Hitler on Tucker. He obviously knows about the Jeffrey Sachs thing on Tucker. Like, I don't know. It's too much weird shit is going on right now, and I think that these people are trying to forcefully keep the Overton window shut, and this is a part of why I'm making these videos, is because while I may have, this much, I feel like I can look at myself in the mirror because I actually said what was going on when it was going on. So anyway, let's go on.
Mike Benz is okay. Shapiro I don't like, obviously.
Yeah, Mike
the
Benz
reason I
is
bring that up
definitely
is to demonstrate that there is an element of negligence here, of intentional negligence. And it is not completely independent from what I just described, which is what makes me distinct and unique from other right-wingers.
Absolutely.
Why is it that I am singled out, targeted, and the right wing does not circle the wagons? Why is it that my name is elevated? And by the way, I seem not to be able to report these tweets and get them taken down. The media seems to be jubilant that I'm being targeted. For whatever reason, all bets are off with me. And that's because, of course, they say, well, I'm an extremist, I'm a Nazi, I'm this, that, and the other. And for that reason, in a indirect way, they support the type of lynch mob activity that has been directed against me, not just since November, but for as long as I've been doing this, for the past 8 years. That is coming from the institutions. That is coming from the left. Obviously, it's also coming from the right. And it's been going on for as long as I've been doing this. And that exists. Again, it is intentional, and it is a soft form of political repression, which is to say that as long as you color inside the lines, as long as you support Israel, as long as you support some form of multiracialism, some form of feminism, as long as you support the stuff that everybody else supports, they have your back. And you are insulated from the worst of it.
Yep.
But if you're somebody like myself, and you dare to step outside the lines on a few key issues, which you know very well, well, then all of a sudden, those protections, those civil rights, access to banking services or platforms, the industry itself, all of a sudden is gone. And so that
It's
makes
evil.
this is in a sense, a
evil.
civil rights issue.
Dead
If
ass.
I am not allowed to
It's
express
totally
myself
true.
politically without a lynch mob showing up to my front door to kill me, then we don't have civil rights. Then we don't have free speech. We don't have the right
So I think
to express
we're-
ourselves about
I think
politics.
We're repeating.
Because that's all I did. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to just I don't even know if this is appropriate time. It probably isn't, but I'm just a wildly inappropriate person. What can I say? I want to show this video that is about something I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, which is what feels to me like a Groyper Zionist split in the dissident right that I think is only going to grow. And this video is more or less like about that, and it's just 30 seconds, and these are all basically like the Zionist dissident right people. And this is like a video about the noticing of this collective of Anons that are all Zionists. So see, what's interesting to me is very specific people are beginning to be named and like put into a group, and I think that inevitably
Michael, how are you,
leads
guy?
to a split.
I found something really interesting.
I found something. So, I think this issue is too central for it to be swept under the rug. I don't think there's what I think is so amazing. It's almost like the reemergence of God into the world, or of like religious schisms. Like Mark Andreessen really wants like a secular, understanding of religion. That's where books like The Ancient City, right? It's all very anthropological, right? And even Peter Thiel, in his the video that I did a watch with me on of his thing with the Antichrist with Peter Robinson at the Hoover Institute, there was a lot of like secularity. He even said that, he's more interested in Constantine, like, the Christian king, conquering king, than of the, the monk or something like that. And, that's cool. That's his thing. But I think that a very real religious, like an unavoidably religious schism is happening. Ardian, as usual, is like miles ahead on this and calls this the second chapter, where people are sorting themselves into categories based on who they actually are and what groups they actually identify and align with, and that this is unavoidable. And then in the third chapter, these groups are going to go to war with each other. So, get ready, I guess. And I think it's super fucked up. And I don't see part of the reason I go at Mark Andreessen is because he's smart enough to know all of this. Mike Benz too. The rest of these dumb fucks, Ben Shapiro, Eric Weinstein, bro, this is like frankly above their pay grade in my obviously not very humble opinion. But I think the people that should be called out are the people that have the capacity to understand this. Patrick Bet-David, he's another one. He can understand this, and yet, I don't know, some kind of willful ignorance going on up in this motherfucker. So, Cernovich too, but he's a fucking lost cause, bro. So anyway, go fuck yourself. Salute. Peace out. Bye.
Otis5D.xyz